Thank you guys for tuning in today. Our topic is Unit 4, the amendments. So before we start, you need to get your backpack, find your history folder, and get that out for us because we are going to do the fast facts of Unit 4, getting ready for our test. Once you have your blue sheet out, we are going to be on the back side today, starting off with our essential questions. So basically, these are the big questions, the things we've been trying to figure out as we go through the unit, things that just might, and I use the word might, show up on the test in a couple days. So question number 1, we want to know, why is it necessary to protect the individual, or you could also say the minority, from the majority? Why do we need to take so much time and trouble to protect the little guy from everyone else? Why was that a concern to the early founding fathers? Essential question number 2 then, we're going to go with, how are my rights protecting me in 2016? And that's kind of the whole point of the unit, right? We're trying to see how were these rights that were created 250, 225 years ago, how are they still being used today, and how are they protecting us in our lives today? And the third question that we're kind of asking at, what are my rights in school? Because, as we kind of talked about, and as we will see, your rights in school are not exactly the same as they are what your rights are at home or at the mall or at a park. Your rights in school are a little bit different. So we want to take a closer look and see what exactly are your rights here at Northeast Middle School and then at North High next year. When you are ready, we're going to go on to the fast facts. Remember, this is a great study guide. Hand this piece of paper to you, family member, to a friend, and have them quiz you before the test. How many total amendments are there? Right now, we have 27 amendments to the Constitution. One day we'll have 28, but 27 today. The first 10 amendments we always call the Bill of Rights. And remember, the first 10 amendments were all added together in the year 1791. The first 10 amendments were added to the Constitution for one reason: to make sure the rights of the individual were guaranteed. It wasn't enough that the government promised to protect our rights. It wasn't enough that the government said they would respect our rights. We wanted them guaranteed. And the only way to really guarantee something is to have them in writing. So now that we have our 10 Amendment rights written down, they are guaranteed to be protected. We call the Constitution a living document. We said a lot of times it was like Frankenstein. It's alive because it is still being used. It is not something that is no longer in effect. It is still changing, growing, and evolving to meet our current needs. The Constitution is flexible. It can change with the country. We talked about First Amendment being our most important rights. These are kind of our 5 freedoms. I left out a bullet point. You got to sneak one in on the bottom there. Hopefully by now you know freedom of speech. In almost every case, you have the right to say what you want. There are some exceptions. Religion, freedom of and freedom from religion. Press, which is another way of saying writing. You can write what you want, especially if it's critical or it's against the government. It is protected. They can't persecute you. Petition and assembly. And these two really go together. You have the right to ask the government to change. If the government doesn't make that change, you can gather in a large group, you can march, you can have meetings, and you can try and get your request made. First Amendment are 5 basic rights. Second Amendment goes over to the right to bear arms. Basically the idea is for self-defense. The main reason that we have weapons is so that we can defend ourselves. We want to be able to defend ourselves from an unjust government. So if the government starts to take away our rights, we can fight against that government. And we want to be able to protect ourselves from, you could just say, threats. Someone breaks into your house, someone tries to steal something from you, you have the right to defend yourself. The Fourth Amendment gets into when can the police search your house, search your person, search your effects. And the key word there is unreasonable. A search cannot be unreasonable. So to make a search reasonable, the police need a warrant. They need evidence. An unreasonable search would be any search that is made without a suspicion of guilt. Basically, if the police don't really have any reason to suspect you of committing a crime and they search you anyway, that is a unreasonable search. And hopefully they won't have a warrant, because to get a warrant, they do need permission from a judge to conduct a search. And the judge will not give out the warrant unless the police have proved that it is a reasonable search. And the police have proved that they have a reason to suspect you of committing a crime. Next, we talked about the Eighth Amendment. The Eighth Amendment has a right to a reasonable bail, which means you have the right to pay a reasonable amount of money. Small crimes, small bail; big crimes, big bail. Pay a reasonable amount of money to go home. You don't have to sit in jail until your trial. If you show up at your trial and you're there when the trial starts, you get your money back. If you skip out on the trial, then they keep your money and they put a warrant out for your arrest. So it's a way to go home and not have to sit in jail until your trial. Double jeopardy is another legal term. Means you can't be put on trial twice for the same offense, for the same crime. And that's to keep the government from putting you on trial over and over and over again until they finally convict you. So they only get one chance to convict you of a crime, one trial. The 13th Amendment was passed after the end of the Civil War, 1865, and it's the one that ended slavery in the United States once and for all. After the Civil War, African American men got the right to vote, so they got the right to vote with the 15th Amendment. Women did not get the right to vote until almost 70 years later with the passage of the 19th Amendment. And then 18-year-olds, the last group to get the right to vote, was not passed until even later. That was basically like the 1970s with the passage of the 26th Amendment. Judicial review is the process where the Supreme Court usually, but any court, looks over cases to see if your rights have been violated. And these are the court cases. You know, when they look at a case, should that girl have to listen to a prayer being said at her school? Or should that guy have been searched if the police didn't tell him that they were going to do that? So that's all called judicial review, where the court looks it over and decides what the law should be. If you're on trial for a crime, you know, civil or criminal, you have a jury. And the jury is usually 12 people. who all must agree to convict you of a crime. So that's the great thing. If 11 people agree but one doesn't, they can't convict you of a crime. All 12 people have to agree, and these people are all supposed to be normal, everyday, unbiased people. Two types of trials that we have: civil trial and criminal trial. Criminal trial is you are charged by the government, could be the state, could be the federal, of breaking the law. And of course, the punishment can be jail. Civil trial is basically an argument or a disagreement between two people or between two sides. Could be two people, could be a person in a company, and usually the argument between two sides is usually about money, right? One side wants money from the other side. Because no crime has been committed, there isn't any possibility of jail time. There is no jail, no crime, just an argument, a disagreement, and the court is used to settle the argument. So those are our fast facts. Those are the things that would be good to have someone quiz you to be ready for the test. One last thing I would like you guys to do real quick. We know that Chelsea, our favorite football club, their symbol is the lion. So really quickly, on the top of your paper, just write the word lion at the top of your paper, draw a little box around it, and you are done. Bring your fast facts, show me in class, and I will see you guys later. Thank you very much.